delegation of ministers from Sri Lanka, ministers of the first national government that was formed in Sri Lanka with the two major parties and other parties. We have visited here. Our visit is a consequence of President Xi's visit to Sri Lanka in 2014, President Maithripala Sirisena's visit to Beijing in 2015, and we have come here and we've discussed and finalized the comprehensive economic strategy between our two countries for the next 2 decades. There are other details to be finalized, like the free trade agreement between Sri Lanka and China, and comprehensive agreements on some of the aspects which have been referred to in the MOUs signed between our two countries, and that will be done when Prime Minister of China, who's accepted our invitation, will visit Sri Lanka next year. So this has now set the foundation for the economic cooperation between our two countries. I would call this the second Rubber-Rice Pact. The first agreement, commercial agreement between China and Sri Lanka was in 1952, when we traded rubber, which are needed by China, for rice, which are needed by us. And that went on for over 2 decades. And that was one of the first agreements that the People's Republic of China entered to with any other country at that time. Then came 1977, when Sri Lanka led the second round of economic reforms in Asia. And a year later, the late leader Deng Xiaoping followed it with China. And now we have come to a stage where the global economic crisis has changed the economic order of the world, where the emerging markets and the developing countries have shown more resilience than was expected, and East Asia, that was written off in the 1998 East Asian crisis, has today come again to the forefront. And it's a stage in which both the government of Sri Lanka and the government of the People's Republic of China are getting into their next round of structural reforms, the supply side structural reforms of China, which we have studied. It also means that both countries are moving to deepening reforms in our two countries and integrating further with the global economy, and we find synergies with the One Belt, One Road policies of President Xi, and making Sri Lanka the hub of the Indian Ocean policies, which we are carrying out in the government under the leadership of President Maithripala Sirisena. So we have come here, we've had a round of discussions on the issues, we've come to an agreement, and a major what's taking place is that in the last 5 years, in 2008, after the financial crisis, the global financial crisis, when China emerged as an economy helping to stabilize the global economy and made available funding for infrastructure projects in different parts of the world. In Sri Lanka today, the government under President Maithripala Sirisena has come with an economic plan, and we have integrated the infrastructure projects with the Chinese and many other programs we had with other countries into an overall economic policy, where we are building on the infrastructure, we are building our economic policies on this infrastructure, and those infrastructure suits both the policies of China's One Belt, One Road, Sri Lanka's hub of the Indian Ocean. It fits in with the plans of Singapore, where they are planning to come in with Sri Lanka and China on the Sri Lankan development program. It fits in with the Made in India program of the Indian government, and we are moving into becoming the hub of the Indian Ocean and the most modern economy, and to becoming the financial and the business hub, the logistics hub of the Indian Ocean. Our discussion with President Xi and the members of the government with the Prime Minister have been very, very successful. And we are looking forward for closer cooperation between our countries. While the focus of our talks were on the economic side, but it's also leading in the next few months to expansion of our relations in the other areas, cultural, education, people to people, the whole range. So what we have covered the whole range, but our primary focus has been on economic issues. Accompanying me has been Mr. Nimal Siripala de Silva, Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation and leader of the UPFA group in Parliament. There is Mr. Malik Wickremesinghe, Minister for Development, Strategy, International Trade and Chairman of the United National Party. We have Mr. Rauf Hakim, Minister of Cities and Water Supply and leader of the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress. We have Mr. Sajith Premadasa, Minister of Housing and Construction. His father was the late President Premadasa. My first visit to China in 1979 was with Mr. Premadasa as Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. And Dr. Sarath Amunagama, Minister for Special Projects in the President's office, was with us till yesterday night, but he's flown today to Shanghai. Also accompanying me has been the Governor of the Central Bank, and Mr. Mangala Samari, the Foreign Minister, was also here with us. He's left for Sri Lanka yesterday night. My Secretary, Mr. Samane Kanayaka, and the Additional Secretary to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Rajit Wangoda, and our Ambassador in Beijing, Dr. Karunasena Kodro. When the government took over, we went into many foreign investment projects and local projects to confirm, to ensure that they conform to the laws of Sri Lanka, the environmental policies, and the fact that they're transparent and tabled in the parliaments of Sri Lanka. We found shortcomings in many of these projects, but we did not reject them. We modified them, we corrected them, and we have gone ahead. One of the issues we had with the port city was that it was based on a transfer of freehold land. Now the government in Sri Lanka, like the government in China, doesn't believe in transferring freehold land, but we give 99-year leases. We keep the principle that final decisions on state land lies with the government of Sri Lanka. As far as the state lands are concerned, we don't sell. We have only freehold. We don't give freehold. We only give 99-year leases. Secondly, the port city at that time, there were other shortcomings also which have now been rectified. But the port city was a landfill project, and certainly it was also real estate. But we brought it into our economic plans. So what we are looking at, Sri Lanka has been planning to establish a financial and business hub in the Indian Ocean, and we've selected Port City to be the location. So it's from being a landfill and real estate is becoming a financial hub. Certainly the company has asked for additional compensation in view of the fact that they say there has been a delay. I don't say, but also if we ask them for payment because of turning them into a financial hub, they may have to pay us. So I think we can talk and settle it. There won't be too much of a problem. The Port City project is an investment project, and the investment status given to Port City has been guaranteed. We are not changing it. Though we are changing our investment policies, what has been given to the Port City has not been changed, and the Port City is an investment project. But we do have a high level of debt, and because of the present global economy and the fact that our revenue collections are low, and we have to diversify. We also diversify our export earnings. We've been talking with some other companies and also the government of China, the possibilities on some instance of infrastructure projects becoming public-private partnerships in which obviously part of the debt will become equity held by the Chinese companies. But that's in keeping with our policy that many of the infrastructure projects of the government will be on a PPP basis or a BOT basis. So we've talked to them, and there is interest in regard to some of them. But what we try to do is to create more space for new loans to be utilized, especially in the social sector like education and other areas. Some of these infrastructure projects have economic value, and we feel should be based on a PPP or a BOT basis. But as far as the port city is concerned, it is an investment project, and all we have done is to make the port city into a joint venture in which the Chinese company and a Sri Lankan company will be there, and change its nature from a landfill real estate into a business hub of South Asia, of Indian Ocean. Now on that we've been discussing with the Chinese government and the Chinese banks of what we could do. Port City is a part of a bigger plan of a megapolis, of turning the western province into a megapolis of 8 million people, the biggest city in the Indian Ocean, and there will be more opportunities for infrastructure development by Chinese and other companies in the megapolis itself. Hambantota becomes more in line with Shenzhen, and it will be integrated into the harbour areas and the industrial areas, the airport and the industrial zones and the tourist zones. So we are looking at a new mechanism